conversation around financial inclusion is unending in Nigeria, and that is owing to the gap that we experience. The financial inclusion rate increased from 56.8% in 2016 to 63.2% in 2018. I know ordinarily one will say that we've done well. Yes, we have. But if you look at the projection, then you will know that we're lacking in about 16.8%, because it was projected that the financial inclusion rate at December 2020 will be 80%. This just goes to show that as much success has been recorded, there is still much work to be done. Just recently, the country manager, Visa, said that virtual cards will enhance financial inclusion in Nigeria. This tells me that the conversation is ongoing. A lot of people are thinking up ways to bridge this gap. And I'm excited because the conversation continues this afternoon as I get to have a conversation with the CEO and co-founder of ESettlement, Olaoluwa Awojoodu. He developed the framework and model for Cash Envoy, one of the leading web payment solutions in Nigeria. And this afternoon, we're going to be discussing drivers of resilience, access to basic financial services. Thank you so much, Mr. Olaoluwa, for joining us. What would you say that ESettlement is doing specifically to enhance or advance financial inclusion in Nigeria?
All right. So thank you. Our primary business is actually creating access points for financial services. And we do that today through our agent network. We have over 60,000 agents in every state and pretty much every local government in Nigeria, providing basic financial services, cash withdrawals, cash deposits, fund transfers, bill payments. And this is an agenda that we pursue passionately because we do believe strongly that the very foundation of creating access to financial services is having sufficient access points.
What are the basic financial services required for anyone, especially the vulnerable groups, to be truly included in the economy? And then how exactly would you say that these services can be designed to better serve them?
Yeah, so I think fundamentally things like micro savings, very, very important, because people need to have that location or that place where they can keep their money and be able to access it. So micro savings, micro credits, micro insurance. Micro insurance is very important as well, mostly because that serves as a safety net. When terrible things happen, there's something that you can rely on that wasn't so expensive in the first place to sign up. And then you have things like digital payments, remittance. Those are basic things that low income people should be able to have access to get financially included.
Can access to basic financial services alleviate shocks for the bottom of the pyramid and deepen their resilience?
Yeah, so it's very important because access to financial service serves as that pipeline or that link where you can build or connect other services to. You can't really help people when you do not know them or when you do not exist on any form of formal savings or formal financial solution platform. So the first step, the very, very first step in getting people out of poverty or from the state they are in is, first we need to know you and then onboard you on some form of formal financial service. And then from there, we can then start offering you solutions that can better your situation, either through maybe micro savings, micro insurance, or even just access to credit, which is also very important as well.
How can financial inclusion services and products be designed to overcome these barriers? Because utmostly it's about getting people to be banked. So how do you intend to break through this barrier?
Yeah, and what you said it makes a lot of sense, because the truth is that the solution that would work perfectly in the cities, take for instance Lagos, would necessarily not work in some of these areas that we're trying to address. So you have to think with the consumer in mind and understanding the market that you want to provide the solution for. A typical example, you can't say you want to design something for the bottom of the pyramid or for low-income earners and then have it on an iOS platform. It means that it's pretty much failed from the start. So you have to also consider literacy level, which you mentioned. How do we train these people? Or how trained are they? There's something we call numerical literacy. which is being able to do simple mathematics, so being able to use a phone, things like that. So if you want to provide certain solutions, you need to think about it and say, can I get the solution in Hausa language as an example? Because the people that are going to use it are a lot more comfortable in that language than they are in English. So you have to focus on things like local languages. You have to focus on ease of use. It has to be extremely simple to use. Otherwise, there will be low adoption. You also have to focus on, the platform. For example, I mentioned iOS, but you need to also consider, do I really need to even put it on the smartphone? Because smartphone penetration in Nigeria is not really there yet. So do I make it something SMS driven or USSD driven? So those are part of the things that you really need to focus on to say, okay, this is the market of people that I want to address. This is the kind of solution that would work for this market.
Bro, would you say agent banking and mobile money solutions in similar situations, and how can this be leveraged to ensure proper targeting of government and private sector-led interventions?
All right, so I think that, that was one of the moments that we've experienced so far in Nigeria where we've actually seen the real value of agent networks. Because during that time, the banks were not opening. And the banks that were open were, opening twice a week, 3 times a week, but people were still transacting. People needed access to money. People needed to keep funds. So that was when agent networks really, really stepped in and filled that gap. So we provided a solution at that time that was like, of course, definitely we're not as important as the doctors and the medical workers, but in terms of financial services, the agent networks were, in front, making sure that people had access to cash. People could also, make savings. And I think that in terms of leveraging, we have some partnerships already, but we can do with a bit more partnerships with the government, so agent networks can be used perfectly when it comes to things like disbursements for safety net facilities, to the bottom of the pyramid and things like that. So we need more of those partnerships with the government to be able to drive home even things like enumeration of people to help, and then the disbursement. And even sometimes if it's a microcredit that needs to be paid back, agent networks can also fill that gap as well.
What would you recommend as a sustainable solution to ensure that there is access to basic financial services in hard-to-reach and rural communities?
All right, so I would say the first step is what we're working on right now, which is that foundation that I call access points, creating access points where people can access financial services. Because there is no way you can say we are going to provide financial access and the person has to travel, all the way to the bank or go through any form of hardship to get financial services. So the first step is, creating that environment, that agent, that location, and the agent network is really the best way to get it done. The banks can't get there. You can't open bank branches in every single village. You can't put ATMs in every single village. They are very expensive. So it has to be the agent network. And we're already doing that. So we currently have over 60,000 agents, and the plan is to grow that to about 200,000 within the next few months. And then, of course, we have to leverage on a lot of partnerships as well. Partnership with, financial institutions like banks, partnership with even telcos, partnership with regulatory bodies. So a lot of stakeholders like this should come together and figure out how do we solve this problem. And I think that, if we do that, as well as, of course, there's always that access to funding, to make sure that there's enough funds and enough capital to be able to get there. Because, there's a lot of talk about financial inclusion, but the truth really is that for a lot of people that are not financially included, the first step is pretty much economic inclusion, which is that I even need to eat before I get to save something. So things like access to credit,